After a catastrophic event in space, astronaut Troy Holloway wakes up alone inside a malfunctioning escape pod. Drifting helplessly through space, he quickly realizes the worst. He's on a slow, unstoppable path straight toward the sun, and there's no way to steer or escape. The only other occupant, a crewmate, lies lifeless beside him, and the pod's systems are nearly all dead. The radio and navigation are fried. All he has is a bracelet beacon and hope. Against the odds, someone responds. A voice crackles through. Pilot Roberts from the damaged station Hathor 18. She's temporarily filling in for her commander and doing everything she can to help. Troy explains what happened. An unstable pocket in the asteroid blew open during drilling, causing a chain reaction that tore through the mining station. The survivors were forced to flee, and now he's marooned with barely any working systems. Roberts tries to track him via his beacon, but struggles to lock on to an exact location. Troy, bitter and sarcastic, offers a view of the stars from his window as coordinates. It's all he's got. The good news, he's alive. The bad news, he's spiraling toward the sun with no propulsion, failing life support, and no way to call for help. Eventually, Roberts locks onto his signal, but calculating an intercept course will take time. Time Troy may not have. As he waits, Troy notices the sun growing larger in his window. Panic builds. He begs to speak with someone in command, but Roberts refuses, asking him instead to run a medical self-check. He tells her the instruments are useless, but she presses him. He finally admits to a minor head injury, which alarms her more than he expects. Her questions become intense, oddly personal, and he snaps back in frustration. Troy reveals his background, an engineer and geologist working for Auras, a company specializing in asteroid mining. His mission, to locate precious minerals like cobalt, platinum, and osmium. He jokes that he could list the periodic table if she wants. Roberts admits they've also lost contact with their central command. The damage to Hathor 18 wasn't small. Debris struck their station too, injuring key personnel and leaving the commander occupied with critical repairs. Still, she assures him they've locked in his location and are planning a rescue. But there's more bad news. Most of Troy's systems are dead. Thrusters, water filtration, contamination shields, and temperature regulation. The only things still functioning are life support, the cooling unit, and the beacon. Unfortunately, the cooling system is failing in reverse. It's dropping the pod's temperature fast, putting him at risk of freezing. He has to shut it off manually, but doing so will expose him to the intense heat of solar radiation. And if that weren't enough, radiation has already begun to leak into the pod. His exposure is rising by the minute. Roberts tells him they have just over an hour minus 75 minutes at best to intercept before levels become fatal. Troy is skeptical. His capsule can't maneuver, and without an airlock, how can a rescue even work? Roberts explains that if he opens the pressurized hatch at just the right moment, the force might launch him toward their ship like a slingshot. Still, none of it makes sense to Troy. Why is the company going to such lengths for a lone miner? What makes him so important? Roberts avoids the question, only saying that she's under strict orders to save him, no matter what. He asks to contact his family. She promises to try within the hour. As the heat and cold battle inside the capsule, Troy begins to wonder, was all of this preventable? Did corporate greed push them to mine too fast, to drill too deep, just to hit quota? Before he can dwell on it, his bracelet flashes. Hypothermia is setting in. He has to shut down the cooler, now. But the sun is waiting outside, and he fears being burned alive even more than freezing. He considers using the emergency evac suit, but it only holds 15 minutes of oxygen. He'll have to time it perfectly and hold out for as long as possible. Then he sees it, hairline cracks forming across the pod's window. Thermal shock. The glass is being torn apart by the violent temperature extremes. Roberts urges him again, disable the cooler. It's his only chance to survive. Troy pleads once again to be connected with his family, but Roberts reminds him that none of it will matter if he doesn't act now. The cooling system must be shut off. His life depends on it. Resigned, Troy forces himself into the frigid maintenance compartment. The cold hits him like a wall. It's a level of cold that makes Antarctica feel tropical. He moves swiftly, numb fingers fumbling for the controls, when suddenly, his communication with Roberts cuts out. Alone again, Troy doesn't hesitate. He yanks the lever hard, so hard in fact that his glove sticks, along with strips of torn skin. Grating his teeth, he disables the system. Mission accomplished, but at a painful cost. Staggering back into the main cabin, the comms flare back to life. Roberts is relieved to hear his voice again, but warns him. Things are only going to get worse. Troy admits there's another injury. A piece of metal embedded in his side, likely from earlier debris. As the temperature climbs, so does the bleeding and the agony. He wraps his damaged hand, grits through the pain, and extracts the metal shard. He knows what has to be done next. Digging through his fallen crewmate's gear, he finds a family photo and a lighter. The photo gives him pause. Then, with a steely resolve, he uses the flame to cauterize the wound. The pain overwhelms him, and he blacks out. When he finally stirs, Roberts is frantic. She thought she'd lost him. But there's no time for relief. The temperature is climbing fast. Troy begs once more to speak with her commander, someone he knows personally. This time, Roberts finally comes clean. The commander didn't survive. He died in the same incident. She had kept it from him to avoid sending him into despair. Before he can process it, a violent jolt rocks the pod. Another wave of space debris slams into the capsule, sending it spinning wildly. Disoriented and spiraling, Troy surprises Roberts. He tells her to turn around to leave the hazardous zone. Her mission isn't worth dying for. But she refuses. Troy, overwhelmed, begins dragging himself toward the hatch. If she won't retreat, he'll give her a reason to. As he reaches the door, ready to sacrifice himself to save her, his grip falters. He collapses before he can open it. Miraculously, another collision rights the capsule's spin. He comes to again, realizing he must hold out just a little longer, 10 minutes more. Then he can suit up and prepare for the capsule's emergency launch. He asks Roberts again, desperately, to connect him with his wife. In response, she opens up for the first time. She never wanted any of this. Her father had been a pilot on Hathor 1, but after a career-ending injury, he pushed her to follow in his footsteps. She did, earning her way to command over 17 long years. Troy admits he planned to retire early. That gets a laugh from Roberts, but the moment turns solemn. He confesses he needs to apologize to his wife. They had a son together, a brilliant little boy who loved to build things. After tragedy struck, Troy had shut down. He ran emotionally and physically, and now all he wants is a chance to make it right. Before he can continue, a deafening crack interrupts him. Another chunk of debris punches through the pod wall. Pressure begins to drop fast. Acting quickly, Troy suits up. The cabin decompresses entirely, leaving only emergency lights and his suit's like support. He reconnects with Roberts. Oxygen is down to 18%, pressure is 0, and the backup oxygen tank is locked behind the safety protocol. He considers doing the unthinkable, venturing outside to manually seal the breach. If he succeeds, cabin pressure will restore, triggering the reserve oxygen and launching the pod toward Hathor 18. But exposure to solar radiation and raw heat could kill him in minutes. Even so, he's out of options. He tells Roberts again, leave, it's not worth her life. But she won't turn back. She finally tells him why. The company's survival depends on at least one person making it out alive. If everyone dies, the incident will shut down operations completely. If he lives, there will be investigations, but the machine keeps turning. Troy hears the weight in her voice. She admits she'd still have come for him even without the orders. He thanks her, but quietly insists this is still the end for him. Despite the radiation sickness creeping in, Troy speaks again about his son, bright, inventive, endlessly curious. He remembers the joy, the laughter, the sorrow he left behind. All he wants now is to say sorry to his wife. Roberts interrupts, voice trembling. His wife doesn't need an apology. She, too, lost a child, her daughter. Her husband couldn't handle it and left. All she ever wanted from him was one moment of closeness, one word of love. Troy goes silent, moved. Then, an idea strikes him. He remembers the experimental gloves stashed in his crewmate's suit. Slipping them on, he asks Roberts for instructions on how to patch the breach. She warns him. Outside, it's 370 degrees Celsius, pure radiation. He laughs. I'll stay in the shade. Roberts guides him via the pod's external camera as he moves carefully along the hull. But the radiation sickness hits hard. He begins to falter. She pushes him to stay focused. He only has minutes before sunlight reaches his position. He locates the breach and begins sealing it, his mind drifting to thoughts of snowy landscapes in Alaska. His oxygen drops, 3% left. Roberts reports the seal is holding. He needs to return, but he's barely conscious. Somehow he makes it back, crawls inside, and activates the emergency tank. Oxygen climbs back to 7%. He calls out to Roberts again, just as sunlight bursts through the cracked window, searing his face. He shields himself and shouts in pain. Roberts yells for him to eject. She's within visual range now, she can see him. Troy, on the brink, pleads with her to stop. He can't take it. But she begs him not to give up, just a few seconds more. Oxygen is vanishing. Then suddenly, a memory of his son flashes in his mind. No, he whispers. I'm not giving up. At last, Roberts connects him with his wife. Her voice trembles through the static. It's real. She's real. Troy, nearly in tears, whispers that he's coming home. With his final breath of air, he hits the ejection control. The capsule's window bursts. Blinding light floods the cabin. and he's gone.